of what you have and what you need. In what has become a May tradition, the Premier Lacrosse League has descended upon ESPN headquarters here in Bristol, Connecticut, to bring 32 talented young men from the college game into the ranks of professional lacrosse. All the PLL teams are on hand, from the Atlas to the Whipsnakes and everyone in between. Questions abound. Can Utah make it 3 straight? Will new bosses in California and Carolina get their teams over the hump? We'll find out tonight. It's all about to go down. Welcome to the 2025 PLL College Draft, presented by Q-Collar. A lot of questions will be answered tonight. One question we know the answer to. The three of us are together once again. Our fourth year doing the PLL College Draft. So glad you joined us this year. And all these players that we've seen in the college ranks, Clark, you and I cover them every year. And you know some of these players since they were 10, 11, 12 years old. You get to see them now make their dreams come true.
It's amazing, Cotter and Boyle. I look at 2024, a year ago on this desk. I thought it was the greatest draft in professional lacrosse history. Fast forward to 2025, there's some bona fide stars, plug-and-play type players, and it starts with C.J. Kirst. He's a generational talent. He's the all-time leading goal scorer in the history of Division I lacrosse. He's done it with a monster X on his back. He's 6'2". He's 210 pounds. He's a freight train with stick skills. He's a no-brainer number one in my estimation, but there's some other great players in this draft that I think are unique. Sam English from Syracuse. He's a unicorn in terms of his ability to play both ends of the field better than anyone in this draft. And Levi Birch from St. Joe's. I think he's a fantastic ground ball guy. In the way that he plays defense with the long pole, he's tailor-made for the PLL because of his offensive prowess.
And I think when you look at this draft and compare and contrast to last year, right, we got the Rookie of the Year attackman TJ Malone in the 3rd round. I think this year there isn't as much high-level offensive talent. So even if a team has a need really on the defensive side, I think you're going to see more offense early just because there isn't as much depth in the premium positions there.
You know, the Water Dogs have that first pick. What's interesting is when you think about C.J. Kirst with Michael Sowers. I mean, chew on that for a minute, right? You have Michael Sowers, who has the most electric feet in all of lacrosse. He's the lightning. Then you give him the thunder, the lefty Kirst. I think Bill Tierney, he's an Irish guy. He's definitely doing the Irish jig right now.
He is. You'll get a chance to see him here momentarily because Coach Tierney is here along with the other 7 head coaches in the PLL, hoping that they can one-up Coach Bates this year. Bates has 2 championships in a row, and they are looking to flip that script in 2025. Speaking of dreams, our dreams come true because Dana Boyle is joining us this year. Dana, what you got for us?
It's good to be with you guys for our first PLL draft. Well, I'm going to be spending some time with the coaches and the GMs this evening, digging a little bit deeper into why they picked who they did. But before we get into those shenanigans, let's break down how the 2025 PLL College Draft will unfold. So it's 4 rounds, 8 picks per round. The first round, 4 minutes per pick. Rounds 2 through 4, 2 minutes per pick. The most picks are the Water Dogs. The fewest picks, the Cannons and the KS. Now, Cotter, Paul, and Ryan do not have too much fun at the desk without me.
I've got 2 hours. It's going to be a blast, as it always is. And we know Dana's going to run interference between you and Staggs and a couple of other coaches tonight.
I thought we made good there. Didn't we last year?
Yeah, we're good. I think we're good. Yeah.
We'll see how it progresses. Number 1 pick, Philadelphia Water Dogs. Rough year last year, but you know that Coach Tierney is very happy to have the number 1 pick. He runs this draft.
Yeah, you look at them, 2-8 last year, last place, but 6 of those 8 losses were by 1 goal. So you can kind of look at this as like, yeah, we had 8 losses, but we're right there. You look at what they've done in the offseason, and it just hasn't been a lot. So I think there's a trust in terms of the guys that they have coming back and the 5 picks that they have coming. You know, most notably with that number 1 overall pick, they got 3 of the first 15. You compare and contrast what they've done this offseason with Redwoods, who were 3-7. They basically took a blowtorch to that roster, 11 new guys, and they've also got 5 picks, 3 of the top 10. So those are the 2 teams, I think, with the 5 picks each to really be looking at this draft.
You also brought in Zed Williams, who is an MVP of the league, right? And he's a big body on the right side, too. So in terms of, like, the meat and the physical presence of that offensive lineup with Zed Williams and the potential of a C.J. Kirst, I look for Coach Tierney then. He can be creative later on in the draft and surround those guys, those playmakers like Michael Sowers and Zed Williams and C.J. Kirst and Kieran McCardle who need the ball in their stick. He can find those off-ball guys.
I think they still need a righty. They traded Brandow for Williams. His health is a major issue. Uncertainty about whether his ability to play this summer. So I think you still have that need on the right side.
The first overall pick is in. Bill Tierney has made his choice. The Water Dogs will get the pick. And for the first time tonight, we get to say hello to Paul Rabel as he takes the podium to make the announcement.
Good evening. I wanted to first start by congratulating every college lacrosse senior in the nation. Some of you are lucky enough to keep playing in May. Most of you are beginning the next chapter of your life. Tonight, our 8 PLL coaches and GMs will be selecting the best college lacrosse players in the country to begin their play with us this summer. And with that, let's get it on. With the first overall pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, the Philadelphia Water Dogs select C.J. Kirst, attack Cornell.
That is amazing right there, Kirst. That says everything you need to know about how beloved he is with his teammates up there at Cornell.
Exactly, and that building at Cornell is becoming a mainstay draft night, right? You had Gavin Adler a couple years ago, and they're churning out pros. Look, C.J. Kirst, from a skill set perspective, is such a good dodger because of his versatility using the right hand, the left hand. He also dodges all over the offensive set. I'm doing the Ivy League Championships last weekend with you, and all of his goals are from different spots. No two goals look the same. Now, what you saw in the locker room is probably the best trait he has. He is the ultimate teammate. Nobody works harder than him. Nobody is loved more by his teammates. It is real. When he celebrates for his own self in goals, it's like lukewarm. When a teammate scores, it's nuclear.
And you look at him, and I think about culture with C.J. Kirst. He's now the fourth Kirst brother that's going to play in the Professional Lacrosse League, right? So in terms of what he's stepping into, he knows exactly what this scene looks like. Then at Cornell, this is their 4th overall #1 pick, right? That program, its ability to develop high-level talent, it's got one of the strongest cultures in college lacrosse. Like you said, beloved teammate. He's going to be able to fit into this locker room seamlessly. And in terms of like team needs, like #1 overall, you take the best available. He and Kieran McCardle on that left side, I have full faith that they will be able to figure that out.
One last thing on Kirst. You saw the graphic of the 5 Kirst boys. What does that tell you? A, he's tough, right? Because backyard games, when you're playing with 4 brothers, there's blood, there's bumps and bruises, but there's also
the youngest are always the toughest, right?
He's the second youngest. There's a creative aspect to that. Like, he learned the love of the game in his backyard amongst his brothers, and that's what's fueled him. That family is so tight. They're celebrating with him, and it's an amazing scene seeing him up in Ithaca in his journey.
Yeah, it's always been about all in the family with the Kirst family and the brothers. Let's hear from them right now as they wish the second youngest brother among the 5 all the best.
Hey, CJ, you got all of us here. I just want to take a moment and congratulate you. So proud of you and all that you've accomplished so far. Hard work pays off, and you know that better than anyone. I love you. Can't wait to see what you continue to accomplish.
CJ, congrats. Love you so much. It's been an unbelievable 4 years watching you grow on and off the field, being able to play against you, and really looking forward to this upcoming summer playing with or against you.
You fire me up, CJ. Love you. I look up to you so much. Congratulations. Really proud of you, CJ. Love you so much. You've always been a leader to me on the field and off the field.
That's great stuff. And there's CJ, the newest member of the Water Dogs, with his teammates at Cornell. Still have a little bit of college lacrosse yet to be played with the tournament starting this weekend. Dana Boyle standing by with CJ's new head coach.
Certainly all smiles in the Cornell watch party. Coach G, you had a smile on your face watching that video. You selected C.J. Kirst. What about him as a human being makes him the right fit for your locker room?
Well, first of all, I've known C.J.'s family and his dad long time. And this guy is a special, not only a special lacrosse player, but a special person. And His mom, Michelle, has done an amazing job with these kids, and I think I might switch to being the offensive coordinator this year.
We look forward to seeing that. He possesses all the tools you need as an attackman to be successful. How will he fit in with this Water Dogs team on the field?
Well, it was just mentioned. This is about culture. This is about young men that come together from all walks of life, all different schools, and being able to play together in a seamless way. The league is so full of talent. And so to have a young man, and I've watched him closely for years, and he does celebrate more for his teammates' accomplishments than his own. And so when you get that, and a guy who's willing to move the ball, and I think the hardest part of coaching CJ is going to be to convince him to not be too reverent to the older guys. We lost 6 games by a goal last year. He gets a couple more for us. Maybe we win some of those.
We're looking forward to seeing you win with people, and you know that better than anyone. So appreciate
Absolutely.
the time. Cotter, what you got for us over
All
there?
right. Thank you, Dana. And Coach getting a little emotional there.
Yeah, Coach coached at Princeton University for many years, and CJ's father, Kyle, was a mainstay in New Jersey lacrosse. CJ was 12 when his father, Kyle, passed away. Kyle was a goaltender at Rutgers. He was the most loved man in all of New Jersey. And his wife, Michelle, and him raised 5 incredible boys. And he's looking down right now at this moment at his son, proud as can be. And all CJ and those boys have done throughout the course of their lacrosse journey is make mom proud and make dad proud.
She's going to get in their PLL jersey, add it to the collection.
The closet is growing as we speak. So that the number 1 overall pick is in the books. The Water Dogs did what we all expected. They picked CJ Kirst. Now you have a little bit more shuffling around. We don't know quite what to expect, but the Redwoods are next, and they've got the 2nd and 3rd overall picks.
Yeah, and I think for them, they've got to get more dynamic in the middle of the field and on the offensive end. When you look at them, they don't have a problem getting the ball. TD Erlin was 3rd overall in faceoff percentage across the league. They were last in terms of 32-second efficiency. So they win the faceoff, and they can't do anything with it. So how do you generate offense from the wings and an early offense?
Let's see what head coach Anthony Kelly and GM Joe Spallina have cooking up. The pick is in for the number 2 overall pick. So let's send you to Paul Rabel, who's got that for us.
With the 2nd overall pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, the California Redwoods select Andrew McAdory, midfield, Duke.
I don't think this draft, in talking to you guys, is really deep with skilled offensive midfielders, so McAdory makes a little sense that they would want to go that route early.
And I think Joe Spallina and Anthony Kelly will use McAdory a little bit different maybe than he was used at Duke. He's playing attack right now. He's played offensive midi. To Ryan's point, don't be surprised if you see McAdory on wings, starting shifts on the defensive end. He is built like Pocket Hercules. I mean, he's jacked. He's an elite athlete. And Joe Spallina knows this kid since he's in about 3rd grade. He was coaching him for years in the summer with Team 91 and the Crush. He knows how he operates. He knows his lacrosse DNA and his compete level. Andrew McAdory is a certified dog when he's on the field. This guy wants to win, and he will do whatever it takes to help his team win.
You look at the PLL with just a limited roster size. Any player that affords you flexibility across positions is going to give a premium at those roster spots. So his ability to play both attack and midfield, play on some wings, maybe play a little bit defense and get out and run in transition, right? He just brings a dynamic element to their offense that they just haven't had.
I want to kind of combine these 2 picks, the 2nd and 3rd pick, because they're both Redwoods, and they're already ready with the 3rd overall pick. So let's find out who that is, and then we'll kind of take a big picture of what they're doing here in the 1st round. Send you back up to Paul at the podium.
With the 3rd overall pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, the California Redwoods select Sam English, midfield, Syracuse University.
Again, somebody, to your point, Ryan and Clark, this is somebody who can play everywhere, all over the field.
He is the unicorn of the draft. No one does more. No one clocks more mileage on the GPS catapult system. Sam English plays man-down defense. He plays wings on face-off. He's played extra man for Gary Gate in Syracuse. He is an indoor box player by trait early on in his career, and then he goes to Princeton in his last 2 years as a grad transfer at Syracuse. He is the ultimate full-field wrecking machine.
I'm going to get off the highway, but I promise I'm going to come back on. The top 3 defenses last year were the Utah Archers, number 3 in terms of efficiency, Carolina Chaos. The number 1 was whoever was playing the Redwoods. Okay? So they needed to just add offensive firepower. And so now they've got 2 guys that bring their athleticism to the middle of the field, can generate early offense, can take advantage of those TD Erlin face-off wins. I love the combination that these 2 bring to this roster.
You mentioned the TD Erlin face-off wings or wins, right? Yeah. You put McAdory on a wing, you put English on a wing. Now something can actually be formulated from those face-off wings. You have the dominant guy. Let's put the pieces of the puzzle around him. And yes, they probably have some holes at attack, but I think Joe Spallina and Anthony Kelly now address the biggest need, cleaning up the middle of the field.
And to go to the attack for a second, I think what they did in the offseason is they put together a professional attack unit. They traded for Brendan Nichtern and Jackson Morrill in the free agents in market. They got them at X. They got Dylan Malloy to pair with Westberg to the right side, and they still have Garnsey. So they have a professional attack. They don't have anybody offensively that scares you, really, but maybe one of these 2 guys does.
First-year head coach Anthony Kelly's got some pieces to work with. Let's send you over to Dana with the coach.
Coach, that's quite the duo, and Andrew McAdory and Sam English. How do they address some of the early offense and the need to create at the midfield?
Yeah, I mean, I think the guys in the booth nailed that one. So, bringing us some versatility. Guys that are going to be great between the lines. You look at a guy like Andrew McAdory. I love the way that he takes control of the offense. You can see him out there just directing traffic. And, you can tell he's a high IQ guy, high IQ player. He's going to fit right in to our offense. And Sam English, guy that can just run for days. He reminds me of a guy that I played with back in the day, Matt Abbott. And I think he's just more of an offensive-minded Matt Abbott type player that can just stay on the field, do everything you need. And those guys plug a lot of holes for us.
They're going to log a lot of miles. We're looking forward to seeing them in a Redwoods uniform. Cotter, what's up next?
All right, I'll tell you what we've got next. We've got the Cannons making their pick, and these picks are coming fast and furious. These coaches have 4 minutes to make these picks, but it looks like they've got a really good idea of the direction they want to go. And Coach Holman has made the pick. Let's send you to Paul and find out what the Cannons are going to do here.
With the 4th overall pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, the Boston Cannons select Coulter Mackesy, attack, Princeton University.
Clark, I know you got to spend some time with Coulter before this past season at Princeton. He is a special player.
He's beyond an elite shooter. I spent a full day with him on the field and went through his training routine and how he shoots the ball from a practice perspective. It's frightening. And the biggest gift that Coulter Mackesy has is his wrists. He was an elite squash player, nationally ranked growing up. So he's got that quick twitch in terms of his wrists and his ability to stretch a defense with a hammer of a shot. He's also, as you see his team going nuts, they were eating pizza before. I hope Mackesy paid for the pizza.
It's a great shot of the eventual national champions.
Oh, yes. It says the alum. Right. We could have a Syracuse-Princeton quarterfinal matchup at Hofstra. We could have something on the line for that. But I think Mackesy, his career at Princeton has been absolutely fantastic. He's tied right now with one of the greatest shooters of all time in Jesse Hubbard at 163 goals. His first goal in the tournament this weekend. He'll be all alone as the top scorer in your beloved Princeton lacrosse history.
Yeah, and just to be named in the same breath as Jesse Hubbard, it kind of puts you in hallowed ground in terms of the program. The lefty attack position is something that the Cannons obviously were going to pick towards. It was really a matter of it was Mackesy or Hiltz, frankly. Yep. And I think the thing about Mackesy, his ability to win a one-on-one matchup, his ability to stretch the defense. And then the other thing is this offense that the Cannons run was installed by Jim Mitchell, who's the assistant coach, the offensive coordinator at Princeton. So Mackesy's ability to go from the collegiate level to the pro and seamlessly fit in to everything they're doing from a verbiage standpoint, from an X's and O's standpoint, he's going to know exactly what to do and unlock part of this offense that, frankly, has been missing. Asher Nolting, arguably the best distributor in the game, when he's feeding the ball, 40+% in his assisted shots. The left attackman in the 20s. Yeah. So that part has been completely missing. Matt Cavanaugh retired recently, so that spot has been open. I know they got some other guys coming to camp, but this is a slam dunk home run pick.
Can you imagine Marcus Holman, coach's son, who's one of the most efficient, accurate shooters of all time, on the right-handed wing, and now you have Mackesy on the left-handed wing. When I spent time with him in Princeton, he was taking these shots with no angle. Here's it right now. This is absolutely insane.
Awesome.
He's from behind the goal right now, absolutely annihilating corners. So if Coach Holman can't find ways to get Coulter Mackesy the rock, I don't know who can.
Well,
you got it, Coach.
Let's find out what Coach has to say about that. He's standing by with Dana right now.
No pressure, Coach. How do you get him the rock?
I don't know. We got to put in a new offense, shoot from behind the goal. So I guess we'll have to figure that one out. So
We sat here and watched his highlights. What about his game excites you?
everything, and more so just about him as a human being. He's very mature. My conversation with Coulter was probably one of the best I had of all the guys that I talked to over the last month or two. And and Ryan made the point. Mitch has coached him for 4 years, and I couldn't get a better person than Jim Mitchell to vouch for a young man and the type of player that Coulter is. And I'm just ecstatic. And, we've got another left-hander coming to camp, and it's going to be competitive, and that's what we want. And I'm excited. He bleeds Cannon through and through.
Coulter on the left, your son on the right, and Asher. How do you see that fitting?
I see it fitting as the ball moves, right? Again, Asher has a wonderful ability to distribute the ball to the guys that are open. So he's going to put it in the stick of the guys that the ball needs to be into. So I'm excited, kind of messed this up for the last year, and hopefully this will rectify the situation and put us in a better shot to succeed. So.
Well, the guys at the desk are happy, so that says something.
Well, that's all that matters at this point is if they're happy, I'm happy. So all good.
All right, Cotter.
Doesn't matter.
Keep making them happy.
That the fans in Boston are happy with what the Cannons have done over these last couple of years. They've really elevated themselves to the top of the league.
I mean, when Coach Holman came to the league a couple of years ago, we looked at that roster and we said, wow, imagine having to coach that team. And all he did was change the absolute culture of the locker room. Yep. Everyone believing in themselves. They were the top offense in the league after being the worst offense in the league. Now you give him the complete puzzle piece, right? Mm-hmm. Coulter Mackesy. One last thing on Coulter Mackesy that I'll add from a skill perspective. When I spent time with him, he's so smart in the pick game. Like, he knows the pick game as well as anyone. I was totally blown away in terms of the way that, like, the little nuances in terms of how to get his feet free or his hands free for that shot. And then the other thing, for a guy who loves his natural habitat to be the left-handed side, you watch how many times he dodges from the opposite side, almost like a sweeping downhill midfielder going down that opposite alley.
And they still got Matt Campbell on that left side, but I would like to see them add a lefty midfielder for that exact reason, the two-man game to unlock Mackesy to his full potential.
Well, we've got 3 more rounds still for the Cannons to make that pick if they want down the road. At the beginning of the show, Dana said something about shenanigans. We've got some already. The Chaos were on the clock, but Spencer Ford, the GM, and Roy Colsey, the new head coach, they've made a trade. We'll tell you what's going down when we come back.
Wow, yes!
Already.
The 2025 Premier Lacrosse League College Draft is presented by Q-Collar. Protect yourself like the pros and collar up at Q30.com.
Love it. Matt Rambo had to get some FaceTime at the end of that.
Love that video. I'm ready to go, Carr.
We do have a trade already. We got to round out some rosters first before we get to that last weekend of May in Albany, and we've got a trade. The Chaos had that number 4 overall pick, the 5th overall pick, I should say. They've traded it to Utah, and here are the particulars with the trade.
I think what's obvious is Chris Bates has very few holes on a 2-time defending championship level team. He sees someone that he wants, that he feels can fill a hole.
Let's get it to Paul Rabel to find out why they wanted to make that move.
With the 5th overall pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, your defending champion Utah Archers have selected Brendan Lavelle, defense, UPenn.
Wow. And I'm saying wow on many levels.
Yeah.
I thought Lavelle would go to the Archers potentially later.
Yeah.
But Coach Bates knows what he wants, and this guy is buzzsaw. He is the meanest guy in the draft. He's the only player last year that shut down C.J. Kurst in a game, who was 0 for 10, and then he shut down Brennan O'Neill earlier in the season. No one is meaner than this guy. He's a physical presence, and when you think about what he's going to bring to that team, can you imagine looking up as an attackman, staring down Brennan Lavelle, and on the other side is Graham Hossack? Run for the hills.
But this is an area that you look at it defensively. They've got Hossack, they've got Jeffrey, they've got Woodward. You're looking at one of those guys having to bump up, because I don't see Lavelle in a position, right? So then you're looking, one of the things that we thought in terms of archers is there was an opportunity for them to upgrade the LSM position. One of two ways you could do that. You draft a clean LSM, right, true LSM, or you draft a close D guy and you bump up Woodward. So to me, this is a domino.
Yeah.
This is a domino, one of two. He comes in, plays that righty D spot, and then bumps up Woodward to LSM.
A little Archer guy.
But we thought this was going to be an offensive guy on the right-hand side that's sitting there, right? I mean, the Lavelle thing, I think, is a bit shocking.
It is shocking. I actually had the Archers going defense with the 8th pick because I thought those offensive players would be gone, right? So when you look at the team, they're winning championships, and the gelling that they've had the last couple of years is terrific. I look at Mason Woodward. He made enough plays as a close defender in the middle of the field to tell me that that's seamless. Like, you could put Woodward anywhere on the defensive side of the field, whether it's LSM and wings on faceoffs or as a close defender. But Lavelle is a standard lunch pail, rip your face off type close
Completely.
defender.
I just don't know if I saw him going to Chaos, Atlas, or Whip Snakes. To your point and to your original mock, that's where I think you probably could have got him at 8. Now, the Archers, out of any team that from a draft perspective, you look at their championship roster last year.
He's never wrong.
12 guys, right? They'd plug and play. They'd trust their draft process. They insert their guys, and they give them a long leash. So they've earned the benefit of the doubt, and they don't mess around. They draft for exactly what they need, and they trust that. I just wonder if you could have got that at 8.
Well, let's find out Coach Bates' thinking in terms of trading up to get Lavelle. He's standing by right now with Dana.
Coach Bates, what was the urgency in getting Lavelle?
We knew the guy we wanted, and we weren't going to mess around. So we weren't going to take the chance. This was who we had circled, and we felt like with 16 and 18, we could afford to lose one of those guys and still not lose a pick and get the guy we wanted.
Big props from Paul Carcaterra at the desk saying you're never wrong. How do you think he fits into this Archers team?
We just think he's a foundation guy. He's a tough cover. He's a high character guy. We think he's going to fit in their locker room, give us, even more edge. And gives us a little bit of flexibility like these guys are talking about. So we feel good about it, both in short and longer term.
All right, guys, how do you feel about it at the desk?
Well, it's interesting. Even this with the movement here in the trade, you would think maybe some of the coaches and GMs now with the next couple of picks might be thinking, maybe I have to mix things up. But apparently the Atlas are already ready to go.
There's an inflection point in every draft. This is the point. Blew up everything. Thanks, Coach Bates, for just blowing up everything.
Well, apparently it didn't cause Mike Pressler to really have to debate too much within his own mind because he's ready to go. Let's send you to Paul for the Atlas's pick.
With the 6th overall pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, the New York Atlas select Matt Trainer, midfield, Penn State University.
Another midfielder off the board here in the first round, Carp.
Yep, in my mock draft, I had Trainer going to the Bulls. And you look at his skill set. He's a righty-dominant player, but he has the ability to use both hands. I feel with Miles Jones and Brian Costabile drawing slides, Matt Trainer's the type of player that will be hammering shots from that righty wing. He's the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year. He led the league in points per game. He's a 4-year player for Jeff Tambroni. He's played on big stages before, championship weekend. He is a typical lax rat and from a family of lacrosse players. I love this pick, and I can't imagine having Trainer on that high right wing playing midfield, getting passes from Jeff Teat on the left and Connor Schellenberger behind.
Again, you look at the positional flexibility, his ability to play both attack and midfield, and just what that affords your offense. This team is littered with blue chip talent. So when you look at their team needs, there's not a lot that really kind of jump off the page. I think you look at the midfield, you got Costabile, Jones, The left side, they brought in a couple free agents. Doc's Aiken kind of considering football. Like, see, you needed a midfielder. They needed a guy that could give them a little bit more punch, specifically on that right-hand side.
Yeah, and one last thing on Trainer. When you put a player on a team like the Atlas with skill of Jeff Teat and Connor Schellenberger and Xander Dixon, you have to get a high IQ type player who is slick. You can't just get some physical freak athlete who just likes to run through doubles and do things on his own terms. Matt Trainer fits this system because of how slick of a player he is and how he thinks as a lacrosse player.
Let's send you to Dana right now, standing by with the head coach.
Coach, Matt Trainer's position flexibility stands out to all of us. What about his blue chip mentality do you like?
Well, he's a star in this league. There's no doubt about it. He 6'2", 195, got the build. The versatility is off the charts. He can beat you with the ball. He can beat you without the ball. He can dodge a short. He can play attack. And as the guys said, when you only play 8 guys on offense, having that versatility in that group of 8 is huge, and Matt certainly gives us that.
Yeah, it's a good pick. Guys, you have versatility at the desk, don't you?
These two guys do. I'm just the stiff over here on this side of the desk that sends it around the horn. But we're moving right along here in the first round because the whips are already ready to go. So you had Coach Holman earlier say that Kark is never wrong, right? Stags would beg to differ in previous years, but maybe this year we're all going to turn over a new leaf. Let's find out who the Whip Snakes are picking in their first pick. Let's send you to Paul.
With the 7th overall pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, the Maryland Whip Snakes select Aiden Carroll, midfield, Georgetown.
Well, the midfielders are really going off the board here in the first round.
Boyle mentioned it. Once they start going, they're going to go. This guy has blown up as of late. He is a great story, too. His first 2 years at Georgetown, he's a scout team player, just trying to crack the lineup. Now, all of a sudden, his senior year, he's the Big East Offensive Player of the Year in the Big East Championship game against Villanova. He had 8 goals and 2 assists. Talking about a player who knows when the time is right to get his stock to go up 1 week before draft day. Aiden Carroll, to me, is maybe stretch shooting-wise. You could argue as a right-hander. I think Coulter Maxey, Owen Hiltz have that left hand. Trainer and Carroll are the best right-handed stretch shooting type players. And versatility again. He's played attack. He's played midfield for Coach Kevin Warren. I love the pick.
This gets to my point at the start of the broadcast. I think they have a bigger need in the middle of the field in terms of short stick defensive midfielders, some two-way guys, but you can get that later on. You know, I still think this team needed a little bit of depth in the midfield. For them, they've got to answer a question of who's playing attack. Right? You trade for Matt Brandow, right? You've got TJ Maloney. He's playing attack, right? You just trade for Brandow. I don't know if he's run out of the box. We saw how that worked with the Water Dogs. It didn't go great. And then you got Rambo and you got Pinnell. Like
they're not going to the box.
Right. So you got to figure that out. You got 4 guys in 3 spots. And the midfield, I love their youngsters in terms of Levi Anderson, Patra. You got Brad Smith coming back from an injury. You still have Conrad. But the biggest thing there is Dordovic and his medical situation and his health and his ability to come back or not. They needed to add some depth in the midfield specifically, and this addresses it. And I don't know if you get a guy like this in the 3rd round.
No.
You could have done that last year.
No.
You're not doing that this year.
Well, Dana's standing by with Stags, and Stags, you got the Carcaterra stamp of approval. What else do you need?
Couldn't ask for anything more. I mean, that's what I.
He did come up to the set with a smile. I
will
say that.
I mean, that's all I wanted to accomplish tonight.
What needs does Aiden Carroll address, particularly in the midfield?
Well, I do. I think Kark and Ryan, hit on it. He's dynamic. We're losing some guys in the middle of the field. We need that stretch shooter. He's been able to beat long poles as an attackman this year. He's gonna, I think that he's somebody that when he draws a short stick is really going to flourish in our league. He's a captain, right? So he checks all the boxes.
Well, we're happy that you're happy. And the desk is happy. So you
right.
did a good job.
So everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy.
Great. Thank you.
All right,
got it. It just doesn't feel right. I was hoping he would draft a clunker and I could say, what are you doing?
Well, you could bring up some other guys on your big board and say, like, why didn't you draft Kavanaugh, for example? You could do that. You could bring up some other, Jake Taylor. You could bring up some other offensive guys.
Still have 3 rounds left to go for Kark to take umbrage with one of your picks, Stags. We'll kind of hold our breath for that one.
He drew first blood.
That's right.
years ago.
No, I
It's all
know.
good.
You guys have made up.
I don't know.
You made up
I don't
last
know how
year.
I
Everything was
dodged
good.
this.
Yeah, you were just
I
as
was.
brutal.
I know.
But to your point about the whips and kind of positioning, they couldn't afford to wait. You know, we've heard that from a couple of other coaches. I knew the guy I wanted. I couldn't afford to wait even another round or 2 rounds. I had to go get him.
You know, that's spot on. And I think the two-way guy, a short stick, they've got to add some depth there. You know, you look at their two-way guys. They were playing Heacock, asking a lot of that in the position he stepped up. Jacoboys, they've only got 2 short sticks on the roster right now in terms of Bernhardt and Puglisi, so they need to add depth there. But do they add that now? The answer is no.
You know what I think's interesting? Jim Stagnita, Chris Bates, they've been around since the jump with this league. As these drafts continue to go on year after year, they are comfortable in their own skin. They know what they want. They've been around the league long enough to know I'm not just going to draft off of hype or get caught in the emotions. It's like it's very tactical. It's I'm going this direction. This is what I want. I don't care if I have to jump up a couple spots to do it. I know what I want.
And meanwhile, I think Chaos traded down and still are getting the guy that they wanted at 5.
Well, head coach Roy Colsey, GM Spencer Ford, they've made their pick. They traded from the 5 spot down to 8, and now they'll let us know what their plans are with that 8th pick. Let's send you to Paul.
This is the final pick of the first round and the 8th overall in the 2025 PLL College Draft, where the Carolina Chaos have selected Owen Hiltz, attack, Syracuse University.
There you go, that left-handed shooter, Clark, that you were just talking about.
Owen Hiltz could have gone number 4 to the Cannons, or he could have gone to the next team that needs a lefty, and that is the Chaos. You look at Owen Hiltz's skill set. A lot like Aiden Carroll, he left his senior year for the best lacrosse possible to show the lacrosse world. He's been terrific the entire season. He's got a hammer of a lefty shot. He's great in the 2-man game. Roy Colsey played professional box lacrosse. He coaches box lacrosse. He loves guys that can play in the 2-man game. Owen Hiltz is an A-plus decision maker. I've watched every Syracuse game over the course of his career. He thinks like a coach out there. He is so smart of a lacrosse player, and he'll be a 10 to 12-year vet. Stamp it.
And I think if you're a Chaos fan, you've got to be thrilled about the draft maneuvering done by GM Spencer Ford and Roy Colsey here to trade down and still get Hiltz, who you could have taken at number 5. So to get him at 8 and then to move up later on. I mean, they only had 3 picks coming in today, so they really had to nail those. So to trade down and then move up later on, they need more quality bodies on the offensive side. So to get Hiltz here is absolute home run for them, considering they could have got him at 5.
Yeah, and Hiltz isn't the fastest guy. He's not the best dodger in the draft, but he uses the pick game to get his hands and his feet free, and he also throws one of the prettiest through passes. So when Roy Colsey wants to implement this offense and have sides and pairs, he will get the exchange from the middle spot on the left hand or the high spot on the left hand, and he will redirect the ball as well as anyone to the opposite side.
And he's a day 1 starter, right? You look at Josh Byrne and his recent decision, like there's an open spot on that left side. So the ability just to plug in Owen Hiltz right away, playing a high-level lacrosse for 4 years at Syracuse, top competition, he's going to be ready to go right away.
First-year PLL draft for head coach Roy Colsey and GM Spencer Ford. And Dana, it's like old hat for these guys.
It's got to be the Syracuse connection, right?
Yeah, for sure. I've seen him play a lot, obviously, watching Syracuse and following the ACC carefully. And, the combination of his ability on the field and then knowing that he's got that box skill just made him a perfect fit for us. Love his IQ. I think he's an underrated passer. Fantastic low-angle shooter, mid-range shooter. He fits our offensive scheme extremely well. And, we were fortunate we were able to trade back, pick up another pick, a little bit earlier in the draft to help us get quality player, and Owen Hiltz is going to be a home run for us.
Yeah, his vision is superb. Do you see him as a day 1 starter?
Yeah, I would imagine that. There's a couple spots within the offense that he can play. His passing is really what makes him so valuable, and obviously his knowledge of the 2-man game. Those 2 things are really critical for us.
That helps. And he wore orange just like you did.
Yeah, that's right.
Cotter, what you got?
All right, Dana, Coach, appreciate it. We got the first round in the books. So take a look at the big board here. 8 picks in. Still have 24 yet to go. We did have a big trade in the first round already. No major surprises, except maybe that trade, but we'll find out how it works out over the long haul. People chiming in from all over the world on social media as their favorite teams pick up new blood, new players that they hope can put them over the top in the battle for a championship next fall.
It is a beautiful day for lacrosse. This gets bigger and better every year. Cursed! There is a new king!
What do your brothers mean to you?
They mean everything.
It would get pretty rough. Bones were breaking.
I'd like to call it a fraternity house.
When you think of Notre Dame lacrosse, you think Kavanaugh.
That's what me and Pat talked about most, winning a championship.
Syracuse midfielder, the Golden Gate.
He understands the game, and he still has the same mentality that he had when he played.
They'll make a save, and we'll just have our jaws on the ground and just be like, how did he do that?
A season for the ages and a team for all time.
It's the last season, it's the last go-around. It's going to be pretty special to come on top.
Welcome back to the 2025 PLL College Draft on ESPN, presented by Q Collar. Chris Cotter, Paul Carcaterra, Ryan Boyle with you. Dana Boyle as well. And Carc, as we wrap up the first round and look toward the beginning of the second round here, who's your best available?
Chris Kavanaugh, hands down. He was my number 2 overall player on my big board. I mean, this is a guy who's lived in the big moment. A lot of people say, oh, his numbers are down. Notre Dame plays less games. He's also had the number 1 defender on him each and every week. He's got a monster X on his back. He showed me more as a senior. This is crazy because he was the MVP of last year's national championship weekend. Showed me more this year than ever because now he's shown me the ability that he can handle the ball as a quarterback. He's the ACC player of the year. I mean, this is kind of shocking to me because he's the number 2 player in my big board and he didn't go in the first round.
Vice President of Lacrosse for the PLL, Rachel DeCecco, is going to be making the picks for us or giving us the picks in the second and third round. She's ready for the Water Dogs here in the second round.
With the 9th pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, the Philadelphia Water Dogs select Jake Taylor, attack Notre Dame.
So they don't go with Kavanaugh, they go with Taylor from Notre Dame.
No one would have picked this.
No, I mean, this is definitely when you look at what they need versus their belief in what this guy can unlock offensively. Like, there's just a ton of faith in the special talent that Jake Taylor is and how he fits in. You've got Michael Sowers behind the cage.
Yep.
You've added CJ Kurse, and now Jake Taylor, the off-ball wizard, right? They've got a lot of guys that like the ball and their stick on that offense, right? You got Anna, Kelly, Courier in the midfield. Now you've got somebody who's going to be all of their best friends, right? He doesn't need the ball, doesn't want the ball. For me, the question is, does he play an attack or are you running him out of the box? And that's what you got to figure out there.
Every Ryan Boyle needs a BJ Prater.
Right? Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
He doesn't need the ball. He has big game capability. The first start that he ever had at Notre Dame was against Syracuse. We call that game. He had 8 goals. The other piece about Jake Taylor is he's a premier finisher, but what people don't talk about enough with Jake Taylor is how he manipulates a defense when he doesn't have the ball. There was a great article on Inside Lacrosse by Terry Foy breaking down the DNA in the mind of Jake Taylor off ball. It was fascinating, and it highlights his ability to really disrupt the defense when he never has the ball, how he gets in the way of slides, how he brings defenders into space to create opportunities for all of his teammates. He's masterful off the ball. He only needs the ball on his stick 5-6 seconds a game.
The crease attackman, though, in the PLL is very specific. Like, you're making a commitment to that from an offensive system and style. You don't see a lot of teams do it. I mean, think about the Whip Snakes and Jake Carlson, right, for example, in terms of a team that committed to that. So Taylor is going to definitely change the geometry of them as an offense.
I'm curious, when you think about the Water Dogs, RB, coming into this draft. Now we're into the second round. They picked Kurse first overall, and now Jake Taylor. And where does that sit with what you thought their needs were?
Yeah, I put Kurse at that top, that physical dodger, and then Taylor is that special offensive talent in terms of a guy that you can seamlessly fit in, that can work well with everybody else and doesn't really need the ball all that much. Do they have some other spots that they are bigger needs? Like face-off, yes. I don't know if that guy's in this draft, and we're just trading a guy that's marginally better. So you're just going to have to develop Stathakis and maybe look at the free agent market, maybe wait a year. And defensively, I think that they need short sticks. And then their defense is one of those, the whole is better than some of the parts, kind of so they have a very specific area there where they could potentially upgrade. They just clearly thought that these are the two guys that we want offensively, and we think we're going to jump up significantly.
Yeah. The other piece to this, and I mentioned it after the Kursed pick, was they can now afford, with all those ball carriers, to get a guy who doesn't need the ball, and that's Jake Taylor. So he fits this offense. If he didn't get drafted here, I'm not sure where he would have been drafted. Right. It might be a while, but it makes sense. When you think about what they have on offense with Sowers, McCardle, CJ Kurse, all ball-dominant guys, Connor Kelly, he's going to give space for all those guys.
When the Water Dogs won the title, all we talked about was the 2-quarterback system that they had with Sowers and McCardle, and now they've got the top wide receiver in the draft.
Yeah. California's ready with the 10th overall pick, second pick in the second round. Rachel, where are we going with this one?
With the 10th pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, the California Redwoods select Chris Kavanaugh, attack Notre Dame.
So you can make an argument, Clark, that you said coming in from this second round, that this might be a steal here in the second round.
If Joe Spalina and Anthony Kelly picked him too, I wouldn't have flipped, right? Everyone's like, okay, that makes sense. They have a really good attack in terms of professional experience, but this is Chris Kavanaugh. This is a guy who's won 2 national titles. He's the Conference Player of the Year. He's an MVP on championship weekend. When the stage was big, he delivered at his biggest moments. And I just think this is a guy that was kind of disrespected this year. I know that sounds crazy because you hear the name Kavanaugh, everyone's like, oh, just, Kavanaugh. We've heard enough. But the reality is, if you turn on the tape this year and you break down just this year, this has been his most complete season, because years 1, 2, and 3, he played alongside Pat, and Pat had the number 1 defender on him every single game. This guy has owned big matchups this year.
They are pinching themselves that Kavanaugh fell to them at 10. And I'm sure as they mocked this thing out, they were like, maybe this, 10 different things had to have happened for him to slide to them at 10. The fact that they got a top 2, top 3 talent, the fact that they could get him at 10 as opposed to having to take him at 2 or 3 is remarkable. And they just need an influx of offensive talent. You look at, we and I said the stats earlier, right? What wasn't great, wasn't pretty. So they just need to infuse an offensive talent, and the fact that they got him at 10 is an absolute steal.
The other piece to this, he's going to a franchise that loves Notre Dame. There's a long history of Notre Dame players on the Redwoods. His line mate will be Ryder Garnsey, who played at Notre Dame, coached at Notre Dame, that knows Chris Kavanaugh inside out. I mean, those two will be attached to the hip from day one.
So the PLL loses one Kavanaugh with Matt announcing his retirement.
Exactly.
Matt,
bring in another
we
one.
wish you the best, Matt, in your retirement, but the PLL gains another one with the youngest brother, Chris. First time we've heard from the Outlaws today. Finally, Tim Sudan getting to make a pick here in the second round. Rachel, where's Denver going?
With the 11th pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, the Denver Outlaws select Logan McNaney, goalie, University of Maryland.
Okay, so we talked about we might see a goalie here or there. Maybe no face-off guys, but we get a goalie in the second round.
This is akin to what we saw with the Archers. We're not messing around. This is what we need. We're going to just take the best goalie of the bunch and not try to see if he's available later on or trade down. Like, we have a clear area of need at goalie near the bottom of the barrel in terms of save percentage and saves. And they just now added the top guy in the league in terms of big moments, a former most outstanding player. Like, I know he's got the size, right? The size was a concern.
5'10" is generous.
Yeah, that's generous. I know the size was coming into it, but like, he's so steady, Clark. And you just never see him. What you love out of the goalies is the guys that are just steady Eddie, right? Just never lose their cool. You never question him in net.
Upstate New York. He's from Corning, the same hometown as John Tillman, his coach. Tim Sudan, the head coach of the Outlaws, an upstate guy. They speak the same language. They let their play do the talking. Logan McNaney is one of the calmest, most under pressure, big game goalies that we've seen in recent memory. The 3 years that he started prior to this year at Maryland, the Terps have always played on Championship Monday.
Mm-hmm.
He's been an MVP on Championship Monday when the Terps won in 2022. He's never rattled. Coach Sudan coached John Galloway, who was an upstate goalie for many, many years with that franchise. And I think there's something to be said about that. Like, when a guy from that region, lacrosse is a sport that everyone trusts one another in terms of who's coached this kid, where he's from. I think it's a very comfortable feeling for Coach Tim Sudan to have a guy like Logan McNaney.
And they had an open roster spot. I mean, Scanoni retires. They've only got McElroy on their roster. So they needed to bring somebody in to compete for that starting position. Whether he goes right to the starter or pushes McElroy, they needed to build depth and build a goalie competition there.
Well, Dane, it's taken us almost an hour before we were able to hear from Coach Sudan. He's sitting with you right now.
Coach Sudan, no secrets. You needed a goalie.
Right.
Give us an insight to the upstate connection and what makes McNaney a perfect fit.
Yeah, I reached out to John Galloway, and he was like, and everything he accomplished, he was like, I'm kind of jealous when I watch him play, because he is so calm and so poised throughout the entire game, whether good things are happening or bad things are happening. And we've been watching him for a few years, and we really like what we see. And like they were saying, we're not going to wait. I think this is something we need, and whether it creates depth or he steps in, this is what we needed at this spot.
How do you expect the transition from the college game to the program to go for him?
The great thing about him is he's seen shots all year. So it's kind of nice to have a goalie, that can step into camp. But maybe we won't see him until after the scrimmages on Monday, right? So, I think I think the transition will be easier. I don't think it's been a big struggle for many goalies.
Yeah,
so.
He's proven his dominance in cage.
No, and he's so calm. Like, I just love his poise. So we're happy to have him.
Yeah, Cotter?
Yeah, we'll get to see him in that Sunday as Maryland plays the winner of an opening round game in the NCAA tournament. Look at the Rough Riders. Yes, drinking out of a boot. You got to love it. We were introduced to them last year, the fan club in Denver. They always bring it, and once again, they're bringing it and happy with the selection of McNaney.
Yeah, how can you not be? Covering the college game like we do, it allows us to travel and meet great people. Logan McNaney is one of those players that I've always had a soft spot for, just his demeanor and how kind he's been. I've met his mom over the years too. I just think he's made up of the right stuff. I think he's a selfless leader. He's got no ego. I remember when he blew his knee out in 2023 and he missed the remainder of the season. I saw him at a game, and our conversation about coming back to see him full circle the next year, take the Terps to the national championship game. He's never rattled. He's always in control, and he just is about as good of a teammate as you're going to find. Like CJ Kurse. Like, everyone in that locker room loves that kid.
And he's a winner, right? I mean, he's a winner. So to bring more of that culture into the Outlaws locker room, you saw what they did last year on the offensive side of the field in terms of the infusion of the draft picks, and now adding somebody to the other side as a defensive stopper.
Cannons picked up Coulter Mackesy in the first round. They're picking here in the second. Rachel standing by with their pick.
With the 12th pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, the Boston Cannons select Mick Kelly, midfield, Denver.
Again, more midfielders off the board here in the second, Clark. What do you know about Mick?
Well, he's a big boy, and Ryan and I had a conversation, and we were talking about the offensive players. Like, if Trainer goes, who's the next guy? I told you, it's Mick Kelly, and he's got a pro body. He can dodge right-handed or left-handed. He creates his own shot. When you look at his emergence over the last couple of years, too, he popped these last 2 years. And he's had a pull on him every single game this season, and he's delivered down the stretch. He's a real physical guy. Kind of reminds me of Jack Hanna, who played at Denver and who plays for the Philadelphia Water Dogs. Just a guy that loves. He's got the snappy wrists and the ability to shoot with both hands on the run. You talked about Matt Campbell needing some help. Mick Kelly can give him that help.
Yeah, they needed some depth in the midfield position. They traded Chris Aslani in this past offseason. You look at who they got coming back: Donville, Campbell, Drenner, and Vardaro. That's why it's pretty right-handed heavy. That's where I was hoping that they would get somebody to add to that left side. I know Kelly has got some kind of two-handedness. I was hoping for them that they get somebody on that left side, but they have an open roster spot that they need to fill here. They could bring in some other guys, particularly the short stick position, but they needed to get the best guy at this position.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about, there just isn't as much depth in the midfield.
The drop is real. After Trainer and after Kelly, Kelly would not be around the next go-around for the Cannons. So get him while you can.
Well, we are midway through the second round out of 4. And when we get to the fourth round, we've got the PLL junior players on campus here in Bristol. They're going to make the picks for their favorite team, so don't go anywhere. Still a lot of dreams left to come true tonight. You're watching the 2025 Premier Lacrosse League College Draft presented by Q Collar. We are midway through the second round, and Chaos, who made some trades or made a trade in the first round, are back with you. Chris Cotter alongside Ryan Boyle and Paul Carcaterra. Dana Boyle is with us as well. And that pick, they're ready to go. So let's send you to Rachel for the Chaos's next pick here midway through the second round.
With the 13th pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, the Carolina Chaos select Levi Virch, defense, St. Joe's.
This is a guy that he doesn't play for Syracuse or Duke or Notre Dame, but if you've seen him play, Kark, I know you've been really impressed with him.
Yeah, big board. He's always lived in my top 5. So this is an amazing pick. CJ Costabile moves over to the Atlas. He fits like a glove in terms of just giving them versatility. Levi Virch is big. He's strong. He was the second player in the nation in terms of ground balls per game, non-face-off men, for this college season. He's a hoover when the ball is on the ground. He scoops up everything. He also attacks and presses out. From a calls turnover perspective, there's been games where he's had 6 and 7 calls turnovers in a game, so he will hunt. He's aggressive, a lot like an Owen Grant. I think there's more potential for Levi Virch to roam the middle of the field than play close defense, because that's where he's played the most in his college career, just like going and playing all over the field, almost like a Mason Woodward if they put him at close, but his best suit is if he's a long stick midi on wings and just going for broke offensively.
This is a value play,
Yeah.
right? This is a value play. I don't think this is necessarily kind of checking a box of what Chaos needs, because their biggest areas of concern are offensively, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. This is a transition. Let's get from defense to offense.
Yeah.
Let's create some turnovers and get out and run. And I think that's what Verge affords you. You know, you look at Chaos, they've got 2 of the next 4 picks, right? 16 is their last pick, Cotter. So they've got to really nail these 2 in terms of really changing the complexion of their squad. They only had 3 coming in. They were able to move up from 21 to 16, so getting more value out of 13 and 16. So this is a total value play and a good pick.
Yeah. One last thing on Verch. In terms of long stick middies, he was top of the class. If you need a player to give you transition, it's not even close. He was your guy.
Speaking of transition, let's transition to Atlas. Their pick is ready. Rachel's standing by.
With the 14th pick in the 2024 PLL College Draft, the New York Atlas select Max Krebsky, midfielder, Yale.
Solo captain for Andy Shea and the Bulldogs. Yale had a very disappointing season. I thought Krebsky was a little up and down throughout the course of the year, had some turnover problems, but he has some versatility. After Sam English, probably has played more defense, wings, and offense than any other player. He also played his best game of the season on Friday night when Yale played Cornell in the Ivy League semifinals. So a lot like Aiden Carroll, striking when the iron is hot. He had 3 goals in that game, and he showed you some toughness, and he just went after it in that game. We were floored by his energy in that game and his want to win. Because he was solo captain, so you know what you're getting in terms of a Yale player who's a solo captain, but he did have an up and down season.
And I just look at this as, let's take 2 bites of the apple instead of 1. If our biggest area is a versatile midfielder, that's our biggest need. Let's not just take Trainer. Let's also take Krebsky and take 2 shots at this.
So you start to look at what we've got coming up here. We mentioned the Chaos. They got their last pick coming up at the end of this round, but you got Water Dogs coming up. They had the first pick, so they ran the draft. They went with Kirst. Then they got Jay Taylor, which might have been a little bit of a mild surprise to some people. In the first pick in the second round, they've got another one coming up.
I look at the short stick position, and nobody's off the board as of yet, and there's some good ones out there. So that might be an area. And is this where you go defense, whether the short stick or some sort of player that can flex between D and LSM?
I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Pressler and the Atlas used Krebsky as a short stick D midi. I mean, coming into the Ivy League championships, he only had 10 goals on the season. So I think that's more of like a all over the field type midfield play as opposed to playing in half sets.
Yeah. So Philly is up next. Let's send you to Rachel to find out what direction they're going to go.
With the 15th pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, the Philadelphia Water Dogs select Dylan Hess, short stick D midi, Florida.
You nailed it right on the head, Card.
Monster. This guy is an absolute wagon. You talk about a physical presence on the field. Played for Kevin Warren for 4 years at Georgetown. Went to Florida to try to play football for the Gators. Didn't work out. Decided to play his last year as a club lacrosse player. He's still playing in the MCLA. I don't know. When I watch this guy play, he just reeks of physical presence like Danny Logan. Like, you know when a defender from a short stick perspective comes up and cross-checks you and you feel it in the booth? That is Dylan Hess. Like, he is all business in terms of physical confrontation.
And Water Dogs are thin here, right? You look at this roster, they only got 3 guys signed. Hayes, Witcher, Scarpello, still waiting on a couple guys that are kind of figuring out what we're doing here. But Dylan Hess, you know, this is somebody that is going to add a lot of depth and physicality to that position.
Did you see the headshot on him? He's got a neck like Cotter.
It's unbelievable when you think about the fact that he tried to play football at Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, that's no joke down there.
I think he's more than 215, too.
Yeah, I would think so.
We did the first round game last year.
His shoulders are like this.
Right. The first round game last year, Georgetown, Penn State. I remember watching him in warmups. I'm like, who is this?
You talk a lot, Kark, and when we do games together, you talk a lot about short stick D middies getting into the body of these offensive players and engulfing them and almost not letting them escape. And that's the kind of player he seems like to
There's no ability to try to beat Dylan Hess in a phone booth because he will eat you before you get free.
Chaos are on the board with this final pick in the second round, and it's also their final pick in this draft. They made some moves in the first round to move up and get better picks. They moved down in the first round, but moved up here in this second round. So now they've got their second pick in the second round, and we're ready to go. So without further ado, let's send you to Rachel.
With the 16th pick in the 2025 PLL College Draft, the Carolina Chaos select Jack McDonald, midfielder, Maryland.
Love the pick. Jack McDonald plays for John Tillman down at the University of Maryland. After Levi Virch, he was my second-rated long stick midfielder. So if you have a need at that spot, yes, you want Jack McDonald. My biggest question is for Boyle, is he the right fit for the Chaos when you just, drafted Levi Virch? And maybe you have plans for Virch somewhere else. But let's give McDonald his due, right? He is a ground ball machine like a Levi Virch. He's had games where he's dominated the second half in the Syracuse game earlier in the season. He's 6'5". He covers a ton of ground. I think he is a starter in this league. I'm just not sure when you have Levi Virch.
I'm not seeing it.
Jack
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. It doesn't add up to me. You look at them; they need help offensively. They've only got 3 short stick defensive middies on their roster: Glasini, Resch. They just traded for Parlett in this past offseason. You still have Troy Ray at LSM. So Virch, you bring him in. The close defense, Newman, Rowlett, Posey. We're still waiting to hear what Bowen he's considering what next steps will be. Like, you got Blaze Reardon in goal. Like, I felt good about their defense. That was one thing that you kind of knew you could count on coming out of this. Like, everything's going to be fine on that side. We need to upgrade at the face-off position, and we need to upgrade offensively. I understand the value play of Virch at 13. The McDonald play at 16, it just is adding more resources to a strength where you have glaring weaknesses elsewhere.
Yeah, McDonald unequivocally is a top 2-round player in the PLL. I think he's a starter in this league. Like, he's had a phenomenal senior year and career for John Tillman down at Maryland. The question is, are you adding a player that is part of a team now where its strength lies with the long poles? But the reality is, this draft doesn't have a ton of offensive stars that could plug all these holes.
I would have liked Ramsey there then, out of Notre Dame.
Let's find out what Coach has to say about it. Coach Colsey is standing by with Dana as the Chaos wrap up their draft here in 2025.
I'm just grateful he's still smiling, Cotter. The holes were on offense, so Levi Virch and Jack McDonald, why?
Yeah, well, I mean, we really love our offensive pick with Owen Hiltz, obviously, and he fills a great spot for us, and we feel good about the guys that we brought in on offense. We've got some great pieces, and as we move through camp, obviously we'll get to see a little bit better. But I feel good about the offensive group. Levi Virch is one of those guys that can change a game and tilt the field, to your end. And Jack McDonald is a winner who's 6'5", 210. He's an animal on defense, and we're looking at it as we'll reinforce that defensive end, make sure that we've got the best defense in the league with the best goalie, and then we'll focus on picking up a short stick D midi or another player here, as we move forward with some guys that are left over after the draft or maybe some free agents.
Assuming no more trades happen, this is it for the Chaos. How do you assess this group you've picked moving forward?
Yeah, it wasn't exactly what our plan was. I think we had our plan looked a little bit different. Our plan A, our plan B, our plan C, but the way that things worked out, and those guys being available at those spots in the draft, and Levi Virch, we didn't expect to be there. That was a surprise for us, and certainly in the pro game, having him on the wing and creating some opportunities for us on offense as he brings the ball down the field after causing a turnover, I think that's going to help us a lot.
That's great stuff. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Cotter?
All right, Dana, well, as you mentioned, barring any trades, the Chaos, their draft is in the books.
Yeah, and I think there was a brilliant move in terms of being able to trade down from 5 to 8 to then get back into the second round from 21 to 16. Totally love the Hiltz. The trade down, you still kind of get a guy that you want probably at 5. The Virch play at 13 makes total sense to me. The McDonald one's a little just of a head scratcher.
It's a head scratcher. But when you look at this
that has
draft,
nothing to do with McDonald.
No, McDonald
It has nothing to do with
deserves to
McDonald.
be picked in the first 2 rounds. We've cleared that already. The reality is, though, the value in this draft are the poles and the defenders from the second round on, and he was the best available long stick mini. I look at it like this: like if you have a football team that has a defensive line that's your strength, right? And then you could add to that strength and just have something that no one else in the league has. Like as many holes as the Chaos have, their defense is ridiculous. And they have the best goalie in the league too. So now the strength just got stronger.
How many are you going to address?
As many as they can to throw out there on May 30th. That's when it all starts. But first, the night of celebration tonight. We're halfway through the 2025 PLL College Draft. CJ Kirst and his teammates celebrated right off the bat. Coulter Mackesy and his Princeton teammates as well. It all gets started in Albany on May 30th.
Let's end it now. You got the ball.
Come on, boy. Let's go. Let's go.
Game's on the line. Don't forget what got you here.
Welcome to Lips.
Yeah, come on. Come on.
You had to earn your spot.
Rip the net, baby. Come on, man. We got to catch that.
Fast feet. You played against the best.
I tried to tell you, man.
I got ball. Forgot something. That's speed, boy.
You trained harder.
Come on, you got it.
Again.
Look out.
And again.
You got to get closer, Rook.
And you kept showing up.
Come on. Come on, let's go. All right.
This is your time. Go make it happen.
How about that rookie stepping up? Game ball.
17-20.
Welcome back to the 2025 PLL College Draft on ESPN, presented by Q Collar. That hype video's got us all hyped up. Looking forward to the season, which begins on May 30th at Albany, 30th and 31st. That's Friday and Saturday. And then it's every weekend from there on out. Second round in the books. Now we get to start the third round, and it gets more interesting from here.